I was about to say the most surprising thing that ever happened to me was meeting my wife and marrying her, which was wonderful. But as far as my ministry is concerned, as far as my work is concerned, um, uh, I think the most surprising thing has been uh, the intensity of the production process for our next production. We started, so I produce audio series and audio shows, the entertainment for the relevant radio network. And we had started a project 2 years ago called On the Night Train. I was working with an extremely talented playwright, Kylie Hatch, and we dreamed up this scenario of two Irish Catholic kids on a train racing across America. And there's someone trying to stop the train and they have to solve this mystery. And it's just sort of like a classic mystery adventure story. We ended up developing it into a 21 episode series that we spent a year and a half on, and we just concluded recording it. And we
Wow.
had 30 actors in studio for 6 weeks, recording 10 hours a day and flying in one actor from LA, one in from Arizona. And it was the most intense production process I've ever been a part of. So that was the most surprising thing. We didn't know what we got ourselves into 2 years ago, and I'm very glad we didn't know, because I'm not sure we would have had the guts to think that we would have been able to pull it off. But through Providence and just through Relevant Radio's belief and the vision of the Merry Beggars, we're able to produce this. And then starting September 10th, we'll be releasing those, and it's going to be super exciting to see, just see what the audience reaction is, because there's nothing like this in the Catholic media space right now, and it's going to be pretty cool to start releasing it.
That's incredible. Well, there you go. You've just gone through the whole interview, so we can stop right here. Hey everyone, welcome. Today we're joined by Peter Atkinson. Good to have you with us, Peter. He went to Columbia University for a graduate program in acting, starred off Broadway, founded a media company, sold it to Relevant Radio, and now heads up their entertainment division. His website is themerrybeggars.com. Good to have you with us, Peter.
Good to be here, Dominic.
So we're going to spend about 15 minutes just kind of unpacking that.
Love it.
Everything you just spent the first 2 minutes kind of racing through. Friends, welcome to Smart Catholics Mastermind. We're all about meeting the minds and hearts of Catholic creators. They are devoting their time and talent to mastering their vocation so that normal people like you and me can live fuller lives faster, maybe get a little smarter. Peter, I want to talk about your story first before we get into the Merry Beggars and the work you're doing. So what's your origin story?
Origin story, if it was a Marvel produced origin story, I would have been a young Canadian immigrant who grew up in DC, and then went to Ave Maria and studied classics, and then got called by God into working in culture and working in theater, and ended up going to Columbia University, where I trained. That would be sort of the Batman goes to the Ra's al Ghul and he climbs the well. That would be my Columbia story. And then he emerges, and the Merry Beggars is the rest of Batman Begins. I mean, my dad was an Anglican priest before, and he converted to being Catholic. And so I grew up in a very, very theological, philosophically attuned household.
Mm-hmm.
I'd done theater my whole life, never thought I would make a career out of it, because that's ridiculous. Serious people go into business or philosophy or politics or something that actually helps
Plumbing,
the world.
right?
Yeah, plumbing. Hey, you never appreciate plumbers until you need one. And then I went to Ave Maria University, left entertainment behind, left theater behind. In no way was ever considering it a career. And then I just kept on having experiences of performing and using these gifts and talents that God had given me. I got offered a really cushy job right out of school. It would have an expense account, flying around the country, arranging conferences. It was going to be a good life. And then I just felt really strongly called to teach at a local high school, and found their Shakespeare program and theater program. And that led me down a very different path, praise God. And through following where God was calling me in terms of storytelling, in terms of forming the culture, that led to me founding the Merry Beggars while I was in grad school. As I'm sure you could guess, or your viewers could guess, the entertainment world, the acting world is not, it doesn't greet faithful Catholics or Christians or anyone really who does not want to swim along with the cultural secular currents. It doesn't greet any of them with affection or with open arms. And so I figured, if I'm trying to make my way in the acting industry, then I needed to create the community that would support that type of work. And the Merry Beggars came to exist through that. When we were in no way, we were not an audio company whatsoever. We were not a recorded productions company. We were purely just theater, community, doing stage readings, getting Catholic and Christian artists to know each other. And we got sort of tepid reactions. Some people were interested, some people weren't. And then as soon as we launched a contest to produce playwrights' work, bam, the lights went on. We had over 120 responses in 2 weeks from around the world of original scripts submitted to us specifically for that contest, written specifically for that contest. And then that started us on the journey of realizing the best ways to support Catholic artists is to pay them. And I'm sure every Catholic artist who is watching or listening to this is like, yes, I would love a job and some money and seeing my work actually get produced. And so that's what I've been doing now for, we've been in the producing line of things for about, I would say 2.5 years. And then through Providence, and we probably don't have time to tell this story, but through Providence, I ended up getting in touch with Relevant Radio, and Relevant Radio ended up acquiring the company that I founded. And now the Merry Beggars is part of Relevant Radio, meaning that the shows that we produce now will be broadcast across the entire, I think it's 196 radio towers around the United States, with a potential audience of 220 million. And so suddenly our mission to create beautiful culture and tell beautiful stories and help redeem the culture is going to debut on a much larger stage than I ever thought possible.
Gosh, what a dream. That's incredible. Why did you pick the name Merry Beggars? I mean, I'm hearing like kind of Robin Hood, Middle Ages, minstrels and stuff.
So where the name comes from, there's a play written in the 1700s, I think, called The Merry Beggars. I think it's like a band of merry beggars or something. And in it tells a story of theater performers who go to local bars and whatnot, and they perform for their food. And in my experience, there's something really beautiful about the attitude of the true artist, or the artist who's really given themselves to his or her vocation. And that is that you're not doing it for the fame, you're not doing it for the money, you're doing it for the love of the craft and the excellence of what you're doing. And you can tell that whenever you see a painting or a story or a musician, and they are in love with the art form, and the glory of God can shine through that, and so the name for us means that we are giving ourselves to our craft. We are humble beggars before Christ. And if we do our work well, if we tell really beautiful stories, if we tell stories that are classics, that move people's hearts and minds, that aren't, sort of Catholic propaganda machines or really poorly made, but at least they're Christian types of art, and you don't really want to watch it, but you feel like you should watch it.
Mercy watching.
Yes, mercy watching. I haven't heard that before. If we do our work really, really excellently, and if we remain humble beggars in front of Christ, then God will use us to do whatever he wants to do with us, which I think is to redeem the culture and to bring joy and healing to our artists and to our audience.
Mm-hmm. Brilliant. How have you've probably started answering this. How have the last 2 years impacted your, what you do and where you're going?
Do you mean the partnership with Relevant Radio? Or,
well, I mean, like you mentioned, you started with play acting, and now you're focusing on recording audio dramas and so on. Your current website has a list of other fantastic projects and so on. I'm just curious, are you continuing that route? You angling to get back into the live productions? Like, how are you changing?
It's an interesting question. So we were not in audio whatsoever until COVID. COVID happened. We pivoted to doing audio, got a large response, and since Relevant Radio, we're continuing to sort of double down on audio, because if you're going to produce an independent film, it takes 2 years to write the feature, another year and a half to raise the money. And then if you can raise $10 million, you can produce like a poorly made independent film. You're not going to have the money for really good color grading, cinematography, lighting. Like, you're just not going to have the budget to be able to do that. In audio, we can get 70-80% of the effect of a story with 1% of the budget, and tell it really excellently for that audio medium. So the nice thing about audio is we're going to be able to tell 100 stories really, really excellently for 5% of the cost of doing one independent film. So that's why I love that the audio medium. And also because we're going to be able to, and we are uniting an international group of artists who are aligned with our mission. And because we can't only just pick one and spend 4 years developing that one artist vision, we can work with, and we are working with, literally hundreds of artists right now to develop our upcoming projects, which is crazy.
Awesome.
And it's a really beautiful space to be in, to be able to talk to artists and say like, hey, I really believe in what you're doing. This is really excellent. Develop this project. And then they can get it produced in months, not years. Any writer who's watching this will know that the real miracle in Hollywood is to get anything made. It's just almost impossible. And you don't understand it till you're in the industry and you have a script and you try shopping it around and you realize that there are 200 other people shopping scripts around that are at least as good, if not better than yours. And so the fact that we're able to start building up a network of collaborative artists and actually put their work in an excellent fashion in front of a national audience is sort of surreal. So we love the medium of audio, and we're going to be continuing to explore that for the next few years, at least. But in March so On the Night Train debuts in September 10 of this year, and then March of next year, I believe, the second week of March, we're going to be debuting a live show that will be performed in front of an audience here in Lincolnshire, Illinois, right outside of Chicago. It's going to be called That New Revival, and the website will be thatnewrevival.com. And it'll be a medley of radio scripts, of live musical performers from around the country, of talent, of games, of just entertainment in front of an audience. It'll be an hour-long show between 50 and 150 people in front of these musicians, actors, and whatnot from around the country every single week. And that's going to be a whole new area for us to explore, a whole new genre, and we're pretty excited about exploring that as well.
Well, no kidding. Are you live streaming it?
So we're going to record it live, and then we're going to edit it down. So we're going to have about 90 minutes of recorded stuff, and then we're going to edit down to an hour, so that way it's just a bit tighter. It's just easier to do that way. It usually results in a better show.
That's awesome. So who are the kinds of people that, one, who want to work with you should reach out to you? Let's start with that. Who are those kinds of people? Who do you want to work with, or you want to reach out?
I want to work with. So it's interesting. We have three groups. One is actors. Actors, come at me. Reach out to us. The merrybeggars.com / I believe it's /audition. It's in the footer there. So any actor, we love to work with all actors, whether or not they're Christian, Catholic, or not. If you're an excellent actor, we would love to work with you. Writers, we usually like working with writers who share some level of our worldview, Catholic or Christian. And any writer can please reach out to me directly. You can email me at peter@themerrybeggars.com. Send me your scripts. It'll take me a while to read them because I have a lot of scripts that I'm working my way through. But we want to get in touch with all the writers who are interested in working with us. And then we also have a growing need of people to work on the administration and the production side of things. So we have one lead sound designer, we have one producer, but we're going to be in need of more audio producers, more entertainment producers, as well as graphic designers and people who are interested in learning about this type of stuff. We're training someone right now on the marketing side of things and social media side of things, and then musicians as well. So musicians who are are like the cut of our jib and are interested in collaborating with us can reach out as well. So if you have an artistic bent, if you're interested in producing culture that is exciting, adventurous, beautiful, then give us a holler.
Awesome. And then in terms of the other side, the people who then receive and enjoy and listen to this stuff, is there anything that you're hoping that they will do, like reaching out to you, joining a list? Like, who are the kinds of people on that end that you want to connect with you?
Yeah, so of course you can go to the merrybeggars.com and give us your email, and then we'll send you information about when we have new shows dropping and things like that. That's the easiest way to stay in touch with us. In terms of what we hope our audience will do is we want to create an entertainment experience that helps fill the hearts and souls of our audience, which means that, I love listening to podcasts. I listen to a lot of audio productions, and I listen and watch a bunch of shows and things like that. And a lot of the time the shows will just sort of leave you realizing that you wasted about, 40 minutes of your life or 60 minutes of your life. And it just leaves you feeling a little bit drained, a little bit, a little bit emptier. We're trying to create stories and culture that doesn't take life from our audience, but actually gives them life and gives them energy. That's one of the reasons we're so excited about the live performances, is when you're in a room with other people enjoying the same experience, there's something communal about that, which I really believe in. So we hope our audience enjoys our productions. We hope that they share it with other people. We did a production of A Christmas Carol last December, and one of the coolest things that happened was teachers used it in their classroom, and families used to listen to it every evening together. People who are suffering from COVID and in isolation in the hospital would listen to it every evening, and it was a bright light for them in their time of darkness. And I mean, it's like, what more could you hope for? I think it was Bach said that the purpose of music and of art is to refresh the human spirit and raise our mind and our spirit to God. And that's what we hope to do. It's not, in some sense, it's not an exalted mission. We're not trying to, teach Aristotelian metaphysics. We're not trying to plumb the depths of quantum mechanics. We're trying to simply give people hope and bring people together, right? To give people hope. Ultimately, it's hope in Christ, but to give people hope in the beauty of life and in the beauty of story, and to bring families together, to bring friends together, communities together. I think right now we're living in a period where people our age are experiencing sort of extreme forms of isolation, both in terms of friendships, in terms of just community. And if our productions and our programs could help bring families, marriages, communities together, that would be the best thing in the world. And then it would just be keeping on doing that, just trying to develop those relationships.
That is awesome. Well, you may have already answered my last question, but I'm going to ask it anyway in just a second. Friend, if you're watching this and you're resonating with what Peter's saying, please hit that like button and maybe share this one video with one person that you think, some friends you have who'd really like to know about this. This show is brought to you by our free community on SmartCatholics.com. We're free of trolls and ads and toxicity, faithful to the Holy Father, Pope Francis, and the Church, and committed to a culture of kindness and learning. So if that sounds like you, come and check us out on SmartCatholics.com. Peter, if you had 1 minute to share a message of encouragement to Catholics everywhere, what would you want to say?
I mean, I would say that Christ is ultimately in your story, and all you have to do is allow him to be there with you. I work a lot in terms of storytelling. I work a lot in terms of writing, developing scripts and whatnot. And it's really easy to think that, especially in American culture, to think that we're responsible for shaping our story. We're responsible for making it have a happy ending. We're responsible for controlling it and managing it. But ultimately, whether we have good fortune or bad fortune, whether we have the most incredible relationships or we're feeling extremely lonely, Christ is the ultimate storyteller, and God is the ultimate storyteller, and he is knocking on the door of your heart, and all you have to do is allow him to open the door. You don't even have to open the door. You just have to allow him to open the door, and then he will write a story more adventurous, more exciting, more beautiful than you could ever imagine.